in Phragmipedium it was also curious when I started. I started with this genus around 28 years ago. We had also a group of organists in Munich, around, in this time, around 150 persons. And the members brought always plants which are too big or so for selling. And so one person had one time a plant with him and sold this plant to me for like this one plant, Phragmipedium caudatum, with in this time 3 flowers. And I paid $10 around and get it. So, and then I was at home and the plant was growing. It looks very well cultivated. The next year it's grown, and 1 year more, and 1 year more, and 1 year more. So I had a big pot, but never flowered. But a wonderful plant. And so I gave this plant to a friend of mine. And some months later, he told me, he has 3 spikes on. And a lot of flowers. It was good. Caudatum comes from this mystic in Peru and Colombia. In Ecuador, no caudatum were found. And sometimes you have good luck. And this picture from Dr. Oakley. Here it's a typical area where you can find it. And some of the caudatum grows epiphytically. And this one also. It's wonderful when the wind is going through and the petals are flowing in the wind. It's really nice. Another one. It's really one of the most beautiful Phragmipedium, but a little bit difficult in culture. And you can, yeah, and on the other side it's so, there are different forms. It depends on the altitude. I know there's really very small plants from the higher altitudes. They are very well for the windowsill culture. And there are big plants also. Here another one, the near related one. The problem is sometimes not only in Phragmipedium, is the problem with the names, because the caudatum was very easy, but this one is different. A long time it was named Phragmipedium valisii or Phragmipedium caudatum variety valisii. Then a German one came to the idea the name is not correct. And he was correct because the name wasn't correct, it was correctly was Phragmipedium varcheviciana. Very nice name, named in honor of Mr. Varchevich, the knight of Varchevich. But and nowadays we must use this name. The problem was another plant from Guatemala had the same name as another species, and so we must rename the plant from Guatemala. This is a plant from Guatemala. It's a compact growing type, very near related, very dark, but makes only 2 flowers. But really also wonderful. And here it was so. This has the name Varcheviciana, at first, of caudatum variety Varcheviciana. Then Eric Christensen came to the idea the better name would be Varchevici. But Varchevici is nothing because it's a plant of Varchevich, because Varchevici is a genitive of Latin. And so another one proposed to rename it, and he named it in honor of a friend of mine, Mr. Popov, as Phragmipedium popovii. Nowadays, we are the idea the better name would be for this Phragmipedium Humboldtii, because there is an old article, and in this old article one time they used the name Humboldtii for. But yeah. I know this plant comes from Guatemala. It's a wonderful plant. It looks very well. Grow very well also on my windowsill and flower out here. But it's not so easy to get here in Canada. There exists also the hybrid between the longifolium and the new named Varcheviciana. same area. But the insects are not so stupid that they go from one flower to the other because they are specialized. But sometimes they are very worried, and so they come from one species to the next one. The result is then a natural hybrid with the flower of the type specimen, and this is a natural hybrid. And we named it Phragmipedium Pfitzerianum in honor for a German botanist, Pfitzer. Yeah, and then sometimes some curious things happened. In Guatemala, this picture was published. A botanist from Guatemala had thought he wanted to describe also new species. And so he described this one and named it Phragmipedium monstruosum. But when you look to the flower of monstruosum, this one, then it's nothing more than the same plant like in Guatemala, only a little bit a little bit tripled. And so the name is only the synonym of Umbolti. But the man from Guatemala described not only this one, he found also another one without a staminode, and he described it as Triangulum. But in Mexico there's the same species, but has the name Exterminodium. This one is a very new one from French Guiana. You can see growing on the branch. Was described 2 weeks ago as Phragmipedium guianense. I don't know why Mr. Brehm has described it just now. I know only he is writing a new e-book about Phragmipedium, and so he must come into literature a bit. But this one is really a new thing. You can see the picture, but we have only seen these 2 pictures of. Let's see more in the future. I like this one very much, but I would like to show this one, Phragmipedium hirtzii from Ecuador. Phragmipedium hirtzii, there are 2 reasons why I tell about. The problem is very often to get the correct literature. When this plant was found, an American botanist wrote the description of and published the description in a journal, not in an American journal, not in a South American journal. He described it in the Journal of the Lombardian Orchid Society. It's a very small group, like your group, excuse me, like your group, and described there a new species, Phragmipedium hirtzii. Some person who would like to get now the description, it's near impossible to get it, because the journal was printed only 100 times for the members of the society. Hirtzii growed in this, was found in this area, in this valley. And this is an old picture made by Stig Dahlström. I visited this place. We tried to find Hirtzii there. Nothing. All plants are away because the interest of the Americans, of some Germans, some Europeans, some Japanese was so great that these places were stripped out. Dear friends, but you can find in Ecuador a lot of these plants. I know one greenhouse full of made from artificial propagation. And I was brought to this point by a friend of mine from Ecuador, but we went later on to another place. So we must go by a canoe, and on the side of the river we could find it sometimes. I think you will find also further also plant in nature. And I think it's really not necessary to strip off. And between many plants, this plant was found. It's a greenish one, only one plant were found. But with the importation of this one, was imported also the second one, this one. The staminode is the same like the hirtzii. but the other parts looks like a natural hybrid between Persei and Hirtii, but in Persei there is no albino. In the greenhouse from Equagenera I found the cross between the left and the right looks so. It's Phragmipedium virinoi. They try to sell this plant under a not correct name, and so you can find sometimes on the greenhouses used. And this region was very interesting. I liked it very much. It was a little bit bad because last night, directly in this region was an earthquake, around 5.6 or so it has. And here, this river is a border between two countries. On the left side, it's Ecuador, on the right side, it's Colombia. And when you stay there on the side of the river and look to Colombia, then you can see wonderful cultivated fields of cocaine, something other. And here on the side you can see the rocks there. On these rocks you can find sometimes orchids. And the bad thing is we stand in a village around 5 kilometers from there. And you must go at first around 2 hours down, always down. It was in this region 35 centigrades or so. The humidity was around 90%. To go down was not a problem, but in this time I was a strong smoker and I tried to go back. But it was really good there, I think, because there we could find one plant in flower. This one. This is a curious thing because it's Phragmipedium fischeri. It's really different species, it's not the same like Linia, but 90% of all plants you can find are crippled. This one has no staminodium, because when the insect would like to land for pollination or so, could not find a landing place. Besides this one, on the left side there was also longifolium, and here another plant. This picture was made by Portilla. This rock where he has found this one was fallen down in the last earthquake. It was around 8 years ago. Sometimes there are earthquakes. Phragmipedium andreae, you can see on the left side, the 2nd May of 2005. The plant was, the new species was found around 9 years ago. Was Phragmipedium andreae. They're standing on Ecuador. I think most of the plants were found in Colombia. A friend of mine sent me this picture. He has made it 30 years ago. It was Stig Dahlström. It was also andreae, and this was also andreae. It was a time where it was very easy to go there and to pick up plants from the street. And this andreae and this other andreae. He is the founder of the orchid culture, and in Ecuador he died around half a year after my visit. It was not the reason that he died, but it was really nice. And here the first plants made from artificial propagation. I get the flask from a Canadian one by Kyle Luchek from Winnipeg. He worked in Ecuador. He makes also then flasks. It was really a nice one. But you must have at first bigger plants. Both were made in Jersey. Petit Chardon, also in Jersey made. And this one was made in Canada. It was, I think, the newest hybrid. Phragmipedium Roxy, the dog. And here one newer species, also from Colombia, Phragmipedium mensuelle. For the first few, the greenish yellow flower, it's wonderful. But here you can see a big plant, and you can see a flower in white, because it happens something curious. When the bud is growing, it's greenish yellow. It's going on, and it's over. But it's two days later. When he makes a picture in the beginning, it's greenish yellow. But it's a different species also. Now we have the following problem. All these species were found in Colombia, in a region of 1,000 kilometers. They were found in Chile, Fishera, Manchuria, and there. So very similar. The curious thing is that insects are sometimes really worried, and they make hybrids. And so perhaps between all these plants, there are also hybrids. And it's a big hybrid swarm, because when one natural hybrid is, then it can be crossed again with new other species. And so it's a big mixture. We don't know what it is now. So one natural hybrid is between these two species. A friend of mine had the good luck to buy a plant by and this plant looks so, for the first few months, nothing special, but it's really a wonderful plant. In the next years it was always better and better. And it's not a Schlingei, it's not a Manchuria, it's this. And later on you get 5 plants more. Equagenera is no more. And so they are all in Germany. And here you have, this is the natural hybrid between Angete and Schlingei. Perhaps we don't know. We can speculate on it. Yeah, and then comes this plant. Mr. Angulo, Senor Angulo from Colombia asked me what it is. He has put it in the internet as Phragmipedium anguloid. It looks like something new or something mixed, but nobody can say. Yet only one plant. And now it was described as a new species because they found 3 plants more. I'm not sure if it's really new species or natural hybrid. I think only it's a nice thing. It was found here in South Colombia. And one of the describers, Mr. Tesson, sent me 2 weeks ago these pictures. The description was published 4 weeks ago. It's really very fresh. So you can make it. And now the first seed pods are growing. If the germination will start